This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
You know, the more we do this program, the more scared I am to visit the doctor's office.
Right?
There's so many stories that come out about malpractice, but like willing, intentful, evil malpractice where people are trying to kill others in the healthcare industry because that's what they like to do, and it can go undetected for quite some time. We talk about Lucy Letby all the time following that case. This one is a former respiratory therapist pleading guilty in the deaths of more than 20 years ago. So they kind of looked back on things finally and said, that was weird. Jennifer Hall worked in a rural Missouri hospital when there was an extreme spike in cardiac events. During the 5 months she was employed at the hospital, there were 18 code blue incidents. The facility had one per year prior to that. 20 years later, we're just noticing this?
No shit. Wait a minute. Somebody should have said something at some point.
Yeah. Former respiratory therapist entered a guilty plea in connection with the deaths of two patients at a Missouri hospital more than 20 years ago. Jennifer Hall, who's 42, was initially charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, pled guilty on Friday to the lesser count of first-degree involuntary manslaughter in the deaths of David Wesley Harper, 37, and Fern Franco, 75. She also entered a guilty plea to the charge of second-degree assault. Hall worked at the Hendrick Medical Center in rural, I don't know how to say this town, Chillicothe?
I would go with that. I've never seen that before in my life.
Chillicothe, Missouri, for 5 months. During that time, there was 18 code blue incidents, an alarming increase in sudden cardiac arrest events for a facility that typically only experienced one a year, according to the police investigator. Of those patients, 9 passed away, 9 survived. 20 years later, Hall was accused of first-degree murder in one of the killings, that of Fern Franco, a 75-year-old woman. She had previously maintained her innocence. In an interview in 2012, she said she was not a serial killer. It's shocking to know that somebody can think something so horrible of you, and the real truth is out there somewhere. I did nothing wrong. I feel like the truth is out there. It just needs to be found. Staff members had suspected Hall was connected to the deaths, and the charging documents, her former coworkers told police they thought she'd been injecting patients with... I
know this drug.
How do you say it?
Well, I used to be an EMT. It's succinylcholine, I believe, is the way the people I worked with called it. What it is it's a paralytic. And what it does, if you need to intubate somebody, meaning put a breathing tube down their throat, you'll give them this so that they're not aware of it.
Sure.
So if you've got somebody who's severely injured and you're going to need to tube them, you would do this to them.
Okay.
You would give them this to calm them down and kind of paralyze their diaphragm so that you could actually put the tube in. Okay. They believed she was responsible for the deaths because of her proximity to the patients, access to pharmaceuticals, and her discovery of every patient's cardiac emergency. After Hall's termination, the excessive number of code blues at the facility stopped, and an expert testified that Hall's proximity to the deaths exhibited a pattern that would happen less than 1 in a million times. Although hospital administrators were made aware of the issue with Hall, they did everything in the world to cover it up in order to prevent negative press. According to Scott Lindley, the county coroner at the time, no criminal inquiry was opened. In 2010, 5 families filed a wrongful death case against the hospital and the company that now operates it, St. Luke's Health System. In 2019, the Missouri Supreme Court dismissed the case on the grounds that the statute of limitations had expired when the claim was filed. The case was reviewed after an analysis of Franco's tissue samples found morphine and a powerful muscle relaxant used in anesthesia in her system. Neither drug was prescribed or ordered for her by her doctors, according to investigators. At the time of his death, David Harper had been hospitalized for bronchitis. He was set to be released the next day. According to court documents, Hall was his respiratory therapist. The documents show that Hall failed to record 2 visits to his room during the final 25 minutes of his life. Information Hall recorded on a different set of medical documents show she was with Harper as he died. After his death, hospital employees reported finding a vial of succinylcholine, I think is what you said, in Hall's pocket. According to the probable cause statement, it goes on to say that Hall was not certified to administer the drug to patients.
1 month later, she was accused of killing Fern Franco with the same drug. An arrest warrant wasn't issued for Hall until May of 2022. It's unclear why it took so long to file the charges against her. She's been charged with first-degree murder, and her trial was set to begin May 15th. The sentencing date has not been set. So
I want to know why it took so long to file those charges.
Well, I'm going to guess it's a small town. I'm going to guess there is probably a good connection between the hospital system and the authorities. And the hospital system did not want this sort of press or to be known to have a killer on its hands. And maybe there was a little bit of, hey, let's just kind of brush this away a little bit until eventually it finally got there. I'm going to take a look at the size of this town because I've never heard of it, and I've lived in Missouri. I live very close to Missouri right now. It is 9,000 people.
So that's a very small town.
A lot of strange things can happen in small towns, especially when it comes to authorities and those with power. So and
everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, the hospital administrator might know somebody in the police department and they give a call, late on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got some shady shit going on here, but I'd like to keep it on the down low.
Yep. That would be my guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
yeah,
it doesn't take a whole lot of rocket science to figure out how some of this functions. So yeah, and you're at the mercy of anybody at the hospital, to be doing the right thing. And hopefully they are. I've had some very lovely experiences in the healthcare system. But yeah, if you go into this, this would be horrifying. And especially for the loved ones who have the loved one that died, knowing that this really was completely unnecessary, did not have to happen, but it's happened because of somebody like this Jennifer Hall.
So. Do these people... It takes a lot to be a medical provider. It takes a lot of training. It takes some intelligence. You can't be a bumbling idiot and get licensed and be in this field. And to be a respiratory therapist, it's a long training program, and they're very smart people. So it makes me wonder what's going on in your brain that you're going to do this schooling, but then you're going to use it for evil.
I think evil is what's going on in the brain. This is the answer to that. They are evil. There's something there's some sort of thrill that's being gotten by these people, and that's why they continue to do it.
Do you think they go into the profession so that they have access to people, or it just so happens that, they're going through the motions? I'm going to have to get a job of some sort. I'm going to go do this. And then they go, wow, I have access to people now.
I think it probably depends. I would imagine there's some that get into it and then maybe, they experience a death that they didn't necessarily cause, but they were around, and maybe there's some sort of sick thrill to it. And maybe there's that drive then to cause those sort of incidents again, to have that feeling again, like some sort of a rush, if you will. Or sometimes I think it's these individuals we've seen before, they cause harm and then try to revive them to be a hero.
Right.
But the reviving doesn't always work either. And seeing as 9 survived, 9 died, I'd wonder if that might be the case with this person, that's exactly what they were doing.
Well, yeah, especially since 9 of them survived. Was she one of the people who was trying to look like a hero, that she crashed them and then brought them back, and now she's just this miraculous person, and she's getting the thrill she needs as well. So great point.
Yeah, it's a scary place out there.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi.
You want to weigh in on any of the cases that we're following for you, you can do so. Phone number 888-554-5537. Easier to remember, just 888-5-KILLER is the phone number. Call in and weigh in on anything. We'd love to hear your voice. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.